Andy, good to see
Nick,
you again.
and you.
Like I haven't seen you because we've just been chatting for about an hour before we came on here, haven't we?
I know, but I thought we'd keep the pretense up.
Yeah. But right, today then we've put it on here. Why you shouldn't delay your retirement past 60. And I chose this topic.
Yep. Yes, you
Yeah,
did.
without any discussion with you.
Oh, that's fine.
Because I know you've got some good opinions on it. And given that you and I both retired before we were 60,
Yep.
it would be interesting to see what you have to say on this topic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what I thought we could do is perhaps get into the reasons why it's a good idea not to delay your retirement past 60.
Yep.
But then perhaps we should talk about the contrarian things, the contrarian argument, because as you quite rightly pointed out just before we came on here, not everybody can retire
No.
before they're 60. They don't. Their circumstances are not such that they can do that.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
Yeah. But maybe the first part of the chat, we'll just go through the reasons why. And if I could sort of kick it off with my number one reason.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And my number one reason is that I think the healthy years are limited. And there are some that would say that's me being a pessimist and doom and gloom. But I've got a mate called Rahul, who's a surgeon. And Rahul says to me, he's in his 60s as well. He says to me that after 70, the wheels fall off. That's the way he puts it. You're like a car that's bumbling along, and then you hit 70, the wheels fall off. Yeah. And what he means by that, obviously, is that your health starts to deteriorate to such an extent that you can't do the things after 70 that you could probably do when you were 50 even or 60. Yeah. So that's the biggie for me. I'm kind of very conscious of that. And the other thing that's a big factor with me on that is that my dad died when he was 74. So Rahul was correct when it came to my dad.
Yeah.
His wheels did fall off.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's my position on it. What do you think, Andy?
Well, on health. So I mean, I agree with you, Nick. If you look at it empirically, the average age of a man is 81 years. If you retire at 67, which is what the retirement age is in the UK, that gives you 14 years before you die. And if you think of all the things you want to do, all the things you want to fit in, it's how do you get to that point? Especially if your mate Rahul is right, 70 the wheels fall off. That means you've got 3 years before to do all those things that you've been thinking. Well, I'm going to do this when I retire. So it's having enough time to pursue travel, your hobbies, or whatever it is that you want to do. I think the other thing, Nick, that we talked about is the fact that when you work and there's all the stresses involved with work and all those things um, that go away. And when you're 60, you can still do those physically demanding things while you're still fit and able. So that's my view. But then I think we talked about building on that. So health is really important, but that's your physical health, then it's your mental health as well. So and I don't know whether you agree, Nick, but your mental health is really important in terms of doing the things you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. What I found with the work situation was that because I was very driven and I was very all in on my own business, I would say I neglected my health. I neglected my physical health. Yeah. And I didn't eat particularly healthily because it was pret-a-manger for lunch. Well, it was pret-a-manger for breakfast, mid-morning, lunch, and mid-afternoon, if I'm honest. And that's not healthy eating. And a lot of lunches, corporate lunches, a lot of evening events, entertaining and things like that. So my physical health did suffer. My diet was poor, and the knock-on effect of that, it affected my mental health. Then to sort of layer on top of that was the stress of running a business.
Yeah.
And the most stressful part of it for me was people,
Yeah.
because but I think that's also partly because of personality. I mean, I'm an introvert, and I ended up in a leadership position, and I was a man who kind of craved solitude, for want of a better word. I wanted me time,
Yeah.
and during my business life, I didn't get it,
Yeah.
and I don't think that helped. So, but I think ultimately, if you the stress of work and the fast lifestyle can have a knock-on effect both physically and mentally. Whereas if you pack in work and or you pack in working full time, let's be more specific about that. It's not just because you and I have never really packed in work, have we?
No.
We've packed in full-time career work. Yeah.
Yes.
If you pack in full-time career work, that frees up time, and you can then spend that time on your health, your physical and your mental health.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I was the same as you, Nick. So I had a job which involved a lot of travel. Actually, used to travel around Europe, and I was in 3 or 4 countries a week for 3 years. And I know that at the end of each year, get to year end, and I would be ill. I'd be absolutely knackered for a couple of weeks. Take me a couple of weeks to recover and get ready for the next year. And my weight ballooned. I was massive. I was still a big bloke, but I was really big.
Yeah. How big were you, Andy? What did you weigh at your peak?
I think I was over 30 stone.
30 stone. Wow.
Yeah. So,
And that was as a result of your lifestyle because of your job.
yeah. So I would be up early. I'd be on planes. I'd be in hotels. I'd be at dinners with customers. I'd be at events.
Yeah.
And apart from walking the airport, that was about it. I did coach a rugby side, but most of that was standing, not running around with them. Yeah, and I firmly believe that it was a sort of blessing in disguise when I stopped working. I think I'd probably be dead now if I hadn't done that.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to share that sentiment, to be honest with you. I think it was a blessing in disguise for me as well. Because let's face it, when you're in your 30s and your 40s, those are not good decades to be neglecting your health, are they?
No,
Because I mean, I'm no scientist, but my understanding is that your metabolism changes. You things are changing.
yeah,
You can't burn away the fat like you once were able to do in your 20s or your teens even. Everything starts to slow down, so you have to put a bit more effort in to maintain it. And therein lies the problem, because
yeah,
you haven't got the time. At least
yeah,
I didn't have the time. I mean, I'm sure that you have. I'm sure that we could have made the time. I mean, you read about these CEOs who are fit as butchers' dogs. They manage to find the time, don't they? So maybe in your and I case, we could have done with just being a bit more disciplined. I don't know, but I kind of felt that other things took priority over that. I was too busy at work.
yeah.
The job was too demanding for me to spend time, going to the gym, going on long walks, going running, whatever it was. Whereas once I retired, the time was freed up.
Yeah. Well, I think it's this all-in thing you were talking about earlier, Nick. The fact that when you're working, you're all in. You just turn up, you work all day, you come home and you're shattered. Go to sleep, wake up, and the weekend is sort of recovery time. But well, it's a massive thing. I think the other thing is the mindfulness. It's the fact that you need something to keep your mind agile and active. It's like a muscle. It's the same sort of activity. Yeah, I see we've got a comment from Mike. Hello, Mike. Good to see you again. He's saying at one time he owned 3 businesses at the same time. teaching mentally challenged adults and miss family functions. I feel bad about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Couldn't agree more. I didn't miss that many family functions, but I did miss some. I missed things with the kids, and you'll never get them back.
No, absolutely. And Andy, let me ask you a question. Do you know what the second biggest regret of the dying is?
No, I don't. Tell me, Nick.
The second biggest regret of the dying is I wish I hadn't worked so hard.
Right.
And the reason they regret that is exactly what Mike is saying there, because they've missed their children's youth, for want of a better word. They've missed the companionship of their other halves, and it's almost exclusively men that feel like that, because men can sometimes get on a bit of a treadwheel or a hamster wheel. I mean, in my comments, for example, on my videos, a lot of people parachute in to basically disagree with me about these topics, and they're entitled to their opinion. That's great, but they're almost always men.
Yeah.
Telling me how much they love their jobs.
Yes.
And they don't want to retire because they love it too much. And we won't talk about the financial thing just yet, because I think we're going to come on to that a little bit later, aren't we? That people can't always afford to retire. But assuming you can afford to retire, why would you stay on working full time?
I mean, you and I have talked about this a number of times. I think one of it is fear. It's fear of the unknown. It's the thing, it's lacking of structure. It's lacking of, you lose your identity, and it's fear of what do I actually do when I retire?
Yeah.
How do I get the same buzz or the same? I've still got the energy and the mental agility to do things, but I just how do I carry on doing that? How do I carry on getting the same satisfaction, that same fulfillment? If you enjoy your job, it's different if you don't enjoy it, obviously.
So the question is, do they really enjoy their job, or is it just because they haven't got anything else in their lives apart from their jobs? I mean, there's a lot of broken marriages out there, aren't there? There's a lot of people who are divorced. I mean, I don't know what the divorce rates are, but there's a lot of people that their marriages don't last the distance. I mean, I'm not that person, so I'm not talking from experience here. I've been married nearly 40 years. Well, 40 years next year. But I look back at some of the guys who worked with me, and quite a lot of them, their marriages have ended. So, I mean, particularly, I'm just thinking men in particular, if they're in their 50s and their 60s and their marriages have ended, are they staying at work because the non-work life doesn't look so good?
There might be. I think there's the other side as well. A lot of marriages break up when people retire.
Well, yeah, it'd be interesting to hear what the statistics are on that one.
Yeah, but
why do you think that is, Andy?
Because they haven't lived together, really. They've been married, but they haven't actually had to spend a lot of time together. So I know that when I first stopped working, I expect you were the same. It was a sort of all of a sudden you're flung together 24/7, and you're in their domain, and it's very different. It's and you feel like you need to do something, get in the way, probably.
Did you get in the way of your wife, Andy?
Oh yeah, I probably still do as well. Still haven't learned.
Were you cramping her style?
I was probably impinging on her domain rather than cramping her style.
Impinging on her domain. Well, elaborate. Yeah. What was her domain that you were impinging on?
Well, I was trying to help, but obviously not. So I know how to stack a dishwasher properly.
You do?
Yeah.
Wow. I've never used one in my life.
I think I do, but
yeah,
I'm not sure my wife does. But anyway, so we're getting off the topic.
We are getting off the topic because that's about surviving after. Although is it off the topic though? Because at the end of the day, work is familiar as well, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's a comfort blanket, isn't it?
A comfort blanket. It's familiar. You mentioned identity, but it's also familiarity, isn't it? And you mentioned fear. Retirement. There is a fear of the unknown, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because is there not this assumption about retirement that you're either working or you're retired, and retired doesn't involve working. Retired is the opposite of work, and you have this. I don't know. I mean, I'm from relatively humble origins, Andy. Unlike you, I know you're a blue blood. I mean, you're probably related to William the Conqueror or something like that. But I'm not. I'm definitely from working class origins, and every retired person that I encountered up until my father packed in work at 65 and never worked again. And they were all dead by the time they were 70 or early 70s. That's my family. Yeah. And they were all workers, for want of a better word, in factories, or my granddad was a bus driver, that sort of thing. And they retired from that thing that they did forever, and then they didn't work, and then they died. Now, it might not be like that now, but that's what's kind of shaped my my philosophy. So I'll let you dwell on that whilst we'll just pop Mike's comment up on here. I'll let you dwell on that and think about that, Andy. So Andy says, great point. Been married for 39 years, and my wife will, same as me, Mike, same as me. And my wife will retire in January. Oh, wow. So I have those concerns. Yeah.
Yeah. It's sort of.
It's a good point.
So I would say the way we got through it was, well, we argued with each other a little bit, but we talked about it, and we continue to talk about it. So,
did you talk about it before you were retired?
No, because I didn't know what was going to happen.
Yeah. Now then, there's a point, because I didn't either. I didn't really talk about it. It just kind of happened, and then I wasn't going to work anymore. I was at home. But one of the things that I do say to people, because I do quite a bit of, and it's not so much coaching, but I have a lot of telephone conversations with people off the back of this channel for free, for 30 minutes, having a chat. And most of them are people who are preparing for retirement. They're not yet retired. And I always say to them, talk to your other half.
Yeah.
Talk to them now. If you're planning on retiring in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, start talking about it. Start making plans together. And if your plans don't align, then, talk about it, start discussing it, because there's going to come a point where you won't be sort of, kissing your other half goodbye on a morning and not seeing them again till night time. You'll be there all the time. Yeah. So start talking about the things that you're going to do together. And that's me talking as somebody who didn't do that.
I think it's important to talk about the things you can do apart as well. So all this stuff about, retirement, you're used to spending time together, but you're used to having your own interests and your own things that you do. And I think that's the key. That's what me and my wife do. We spend a lot of time together, but we spend a lot of time doing our own things.
Yeah.
Which I think is healthy. So you've got different experiences and different things to draw on that you can then talk about. I do this, I do a number of other things. I play a bit of golf, which helps with my health and exercise. I was in a group today where we were talking about what the future of the UK tax system would look like, which I know Nick would think, Jesus, don't want to do that. But for me, it's intellectually stimulating. It's something I really enjoy doing. My wife writes, and she's an acupuncturist, so she does different things. So we have our time together and we have our time apart.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, and it's getting used to doing your own thing. So bear in mind that you or your wife or somebody will have been at home all the time and not used to someone interfering or talking to them. They'll have their run and their way of doing things. They'll have their routine. Just because your routine's broken doesn't mean you want to break theirs as well, because then it's two people who've got the same problem. So that's my take on it anyway. Yeah, no,
that's. I think we're we're probably going off in a direction here away from the original topic, because you might be putting people off retiring, Andy, with all of this.
Well, no, because I think actually the rewarding side of it afterwards, because there's, the thing we've talked about are, if you start off with your health and your energy, you want to do things. You want to travel. You want to have time for yourself and your own hobbies and your own things. And you want to do that when you're still healthy and you've still got the energy to do it. And,
Yes.
it goes back to the point we were making earlier. And you have to make that energy, and you can do the things together. But it's also understanding it's redefining those relationships and how you work together, because whilst you may be changing, your partner isn't, because your partner's still, and they're very happy and comfortable with what they're doing, and they're not defined by a job or anything else.
Yeah.
Or they may be defined by a job and they change, but it's working together, I think.
Yeah, and that's why you have to talk to them in advance, don't you, of retirement? You have to start. Yeah, there has to be an open discussion well in advance.
Yeah,
and plans have to be made.
Yeah, we didn't take our own advice, did we, Nick?
Well, no, because there wasn't anybody to advise me to do that.
Well, no, and yeah, and I didn't really think about it, to be honest.
No, exactly. So that's one thing that we need to think about. The thing is, the thing I feel about this topic, why you shouldn't delay your retirement past 60, is that I just think there's so much more to life than work. Yeah.
Yes.
And you kind of, I don't know about you, Andy, but maybe you were a bit more clued in than me. But given that you're an educated blue blood, and I'm a kind of given that I'm an ill-educated working class lad made good, yeah. But I didn't give a lot of thought to my career. I didn't give a lot of thought to the moves. I kind of fell into recruitment, the sector I was in, and I just worked hard, and I seized an opportunity to set up a business. But I was quite, what's the word? Blinkered. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was blinkered. I was like a racehorse, just with my blinkers on. I wasn't worldly wise. And I was making decisions about things based on a very limited world view, is how I would describe it. And the one thing that came out of packing in work at 44 and selling my business, and obviously that was triggered by my father dying the year before at age 74, was that it opened my mind to other possibilities.
Yeah.
And one of those possibilities could have been going in a completely different direction. And I didn't have to stay within the recruitment industry, running a recruitment company. And I think the same applies to accountants or lawyers or anybody like that. Anybody who's chosen something when they were 21 and stuck at it for 20, 30 years, they don't have to be that person or that thing forever. They can go in a completely different direction. And retiring by the time you're 60 enables you to do that.
Yeah.
Life isn't over because you've made the decision to retire from the thing that you were doing. And this is a key point here. Retiring from the thing you were doing means you can then go and do something else.
Yeah.
So if you want to continue working, you can continue to work. It just doesn't have to be that thing that you were doing before. I should have invited him on here as a guy I've got to know on YouTube, a fellow creator called John, and he's an accountant. And at the moment, he's working at Marks and Spencer's on a minimum wage, helping out in the Christmas period.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with accountancy. He's made the decision. He's made the decision to do that. The point is that you don't have to. Retirement doesn't mean packing in work, does it? Completely.
No, it doesn't. It means so. And I think we've talked about this whole load of things. It's defining the new you. It's trying to think of the best way of explaining it, but it's your opportunity to have your second life, to do all the things that you wanted to do but couldn't. So there is the financial security piece of it, but it gives you the opportunity to do what you want when you want, and it's finding out what that is. And there are lots of things in there that I know that when I was working, I used to think, "Oh, I wish I could do that," or "I wish I," and I never had the time to do it. Or maybe you should write those down, and then they're things that you can try. But
Mhm.
maybe by the time you're 60, they're things that yeah, you actually can't do anymore, even when you're 60. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't travel like I was doing 10 years ago.
yeah,
I mean, I know it's a. I mean, you've kind of said it's a fairly simple complaint because you've had your gallbladder out, and
mm,
now you're on your way again traveling. But at the moment, I haven't had my gallbladder out. I've got the complaint,
yeah,
and I can't travel.
yeah.
I
Well,
have to make sure that I'm within striking distance of an emergency hospital.
yeah.
Yeah,
But it's not just that. It's not so. There's the ailments. So that there's the things that are physically wrong with you, but you haven't got as much energy. So we've just been to Venice with my wife for her 60th birthday, and we haven't got the last time we went was about 6 years ago, and we haven't got the same energy as we had then to do the same things, and that's just 6 years. And I think I'm fitter now than I was then, but it's the energy level. So uh, it's hard to explain. They do run down a little bit. It just gets and you've got to make sure that you take advantage of all the things you can when you can. So my one of the things I want to do is I want to travel to. There's lots of places I want to travel, and my experience with my parents. So my parents, my dad died um, nearly a year ago. He was 90, and my mum's still alive at 88. My dad retired at 63, and he did a bit of consultancy afterwards, and then they had plans to travel. They wanted to go to South Africa and
yeah,
Australia and New Zealand. Didn't do any of it because each time they planned it, my mum was ill, and they couldn't go. They had to cancel it. So there were lots of things that they wanted to do, but they never managed to do it. And then by the time they got into their mid 70s, they didn't have the energy. They didn't want to go on long haul. They didn't want to do all these things. Carried on going holidays, shorter holidays, but there were lots of things that they wish they had done and they couldn't. And I don't want to be in that position. And we talked about you talked earlier about what was it? What's the second most thing? What's the second thing that people say they regret when they die?
yeah.
Uh,
The second thing, as I mentioned to you, is that they wish they hadn't worked so hard.
yeah, and it's the point that was that Mike brought up. It's you feel bad about it. You haven't had time for those relationships. You haven't had time to invest in those relationships with your family and your friends. And I think that's another important thing that we've talked about. That things that one of the reasons you shouldn't delay it is so that you have that time to enjoy the relationships with your family and to spend time with people that you want to spend time with. So it's ditching the arseholes or the assholes, whichever way you want to do it.
Don't set that debate off, Andy, because it's still raging. It's
I
still
know.
raging.
Why do you think I said it?
Yeah, that is still raging. Apparently, as a Yorkshireman, I shouldn't be saying asshole. I should be saying asshole.
but
Asshole.
but Nick, do you know what? You can say whatever you want. People understand it.
It's an interesting. You've just jogged my memory, actually, Andy. That one of the biggest reasons why I think you should retire before 60 is that you don't have to put up with those arseholes anymore
Yeah, you don't.
from the last 20 or 30 years. Doesn't
Yeah.
always work like that because let's face it, Andy, you and I met, was it 4 years ago now? Yeah, it was 4 years
Yes.
ago,
Yeah.
2020. We met 4 years ago, and I've never encountered as many arseholes in one place as that organisation that you and I worked for a while.
Yeah.
But so, you're laughing because you say, oh, he tells it how it is. But
Yeah.
boy, there were some arseholes in that organisation, weren't there?
There were.
But yeah, the fact is that during your working years, you do have to put up with a lot of arseholes. You. I mean, admittedly, you choose some of them. Well, you choose a lot of them, don't you? Because you hire them.
Yeah.
But the reality is that once you've retired, you can be a lot more selective.
Yes.
Time is very precious, and you have to be very careful who you spend that time with. But you can still get sucked back in to spending time or with assholes.
So how do you deal with that?
Or for my American friends, assholes.
So what's your recipe for doing that then, Nick? So what do you do?
Andy, you know what my recipe is for that.
That's what I've asked. I thought you could share.
And I am going to do a video on this topic. Even if
All right.
people completely disagree with me. Okay, my recipe for it is that I try to do whatever I can these days so that I don't have to spend too much time with people.
Yeah.
I just want to spend my time with a select group of people who I've got to know, who I think I know their integrity. I think they know they'd have my back in a problem, and I'd certainly have their back. And I don't want to spend my time with any duplicitous, scheming assholes.
Yeah.
I want to spend my time with people I enjoy,
Yeah.
whose company I enjoy, because time is limited. And because you haven't got a lot of time left on this planet potentially, why do you want to spend it with people who are? There's a phrase we use up here with people in Northern England we would say who are pillocks. And for our American friends, a pillock is the same as an asshole, basically. Yeah. So there's a new word for you, a Britishism. A Britishism for you, Mike. Pillock.
Yeah.
So when somebody's being an asshole and you say to them, "Don't be a pillock." Hang on, Mike's put a comment. I wonder if my wife will have a lot less negative talk about her co-workers. LOL. Yeah. I wonder, Mike. I wonder. Andy, here's a question for you. Yep. This attitude that we've got at times towards people, is it because we were in leadership positions?
Don't know. Maybe because the diversity of people that we had to deal with.
Yeah, it could have been.
And it's not.
I don't know if it was actually, because I remember when I wasn't a leader, when I was young, I was in my early to mid 20s. I thought my bosses were assholes. So I'm absolutely certain that my employees thought I was an asshole.
Probably.
And you know what? They were right. I was at times, and I still am at times, aren't we all? Yeah. But I suppose what we're talking about is people who are continuously behaving like assholes, basically, or arseholes, or pillocks. Yeah.
So Wazzock is another one.
Wazzock. Yeah, a Wazzock. No, that's not so bad. A Wazzock is just somebody who's a bit daft. Yeah, no, to get back to your point there, Andy, yeah, my strategy, certainly after 60, I would say, and that organisation that you and I spent time in finished me off. Now I'm incredibly selective about the people I spend time with.
I'm honoured, Nick.
Well, you're good fun. And your intellectual curiosity, you sort of drag me along with it, in all honesty.
Good.
In fairness. Yeah. So, Andy, what about the contrarian side of things? We said at the beginning that we wouldn't just talk about the positives. The positives, we know what they are. Health, time is flying. You can freeing up time to do your passions, your family, hobbies, interests, all those kind of things are all the obvious reasons why you should, try and quit full-time work by the time you're 60, so you can free up the time to do those things. But what's the contrarian side of that? Because you raised this at the beginning.
Yeah. So I mean, the first thing is financial security. We talked to we're not financial advisors, but if you in the UK, you can actually start to access your pension. If your pension fund's big enough, you can access it from 55. There are advantages doing that. In the States, there are other issues. So your Medicare in the States. So once you retire, if you haven't got your medical insurance, I know that's an issue from talking to people I know who do live out there. It's some people just want to work. They're so passionate and they love. So they're doing what is their hobby anyway as work, and they happen to be
Yeah.
paid for it, and they can't think of anything else they'd rather be doing. So there are some things where it does make sense. So there's the financial security part, there's the health insurance part, there's a sense of purpose. If you have a sense of purpose derived from what you're doing, and that's always been your vocation or whatever it is, and you want to keep doing it, then keep doing it. So a really good friend of mine, he's a doctor, and his wife died. She was only about 52. She had terrible cancer, and he met someone else, but then he retired. He retired early, and he ended up. But he had a thirst for study. He had a thirst for archaeology, and that's what he did. So we went and did a doctorate in archaeology, and he goes off and digs and everything. And his new partner, his wife now, understands he needs that space, but that's his new direction and his new passion. And it was around the academia side of it, which is what his job was about. But I think his job had probably relationships with his wife who died and that sort of thing. So, he's carried on working. He doesn't get paid, but he doesn't think it. He thinks it's work because it's a structure and it's that sort of intellectual drive that keeps him busy and keeps him engaged. So I think that they're the main things that I would say. If I talk to anybody who's thinking of retiring, it's first, do you really enjoy what you're doing? If they do, well, yeah. And do you get all the other bits? Have you structured it in a way that is, means that you've got all your relationships, you meet with people that you like meeting with, you spend enough time with your family, all those aspects all there. So,
I see. So you would certainly challenge them then and say you would want to make sure that side of the life was also adequately provided for, so to speak. In other words, they weren't neglecting their family for the pursuit of some career ambition or whatever you would call it.
Yeah,
because I think that's where the kind of the second thing of the dying, the one about I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I think that's the point that one's about. It's all about don't stay at work and neglect all these other things.
Yeah,
because that's just ridiculous.
So have you got a partner? Are there things that you want to do with your partner that you can't do whilst you work? Well, don't delay them, because you won't actually get that won't work for you.
Yeah, actually, we've got a comment, Andy. I'll just bring it up on here from Tronaldino. I like that, Tronaldino. T. Ronaldinho sounds like a Brazilian footballer. You usually don't go deep on the financial aspects of retirement, but did you ever experience stress when the markets tanked? Financial crisis 2008, COVID. Would a job have given you peace of mind? Yeah, well, the reason I don't go into financial aspects of it is because everybody, I'm well aware that I'm in quite a privileged position in that I did manage to build a business, sell it in my mid-40s. So, but my attitude to money has never been to stress about it anyway. So even when I've been broke, and there were plenty of times during my business years when I was broke, I had to borrow money off my parents at times to put into the business. But I never really stressed about it. I've always had this kind of attitude of kind of living every day as it comes, and not stressing about something that I don't know I don't know if it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. So I try not to stress about it. So when it comes to money, the reason I don't get on the money topics is that everybody's position is different. So in answer to that particular question, Tronaldino, did I ever experience stress in the markets tanked? I never even gave it a second thought, to be honest, because I guess I just thought that, markets tank and then they go back up again. But most of the things that I've got involved in, they've always had a kind of roller coaster trend, but the trend has been ultimately upwards.
Yeah, I mean, so you can go back as well through the millennium bubble bursting in the early 2000s, where there were all those stocks that sort of just disappeared. There was a financial crisis then as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I stopped working. I lost my job when the financial crisis was on, just as it started. And I must admit, to begin with, I just thought, oh, Jesus, well, to begin with, it was nice because I didn't have to do anything. But then it was all, what am I going to do? Because the markets were difficult, etc. COVID, less of an issue. But I'm the same as you. And I mean, there's a comment from Mike which says, don't depend on your job, depend on yourself for your well-being. And I think I always had an innate confidence that no matter what you throw at me, I can do something about it. So now, going back to the previous comment, would a job have given me peace of mind? No more than I have at the moment. If something happens and I need to go and work again, I'm quite confident I can go and work and earn money. That doesn't worry me. It may not be doing something I want to do, but I have that innate confidence inside me. So
yeah, and I'm the same, Andy. I don't think I'll ever have a job. Okay, so I'll never have an employer. That's never going to happen. I've not had an employer since I was 30. Although that organisation that we briefly spent time in, they treated me like an employee. And I think if I was ever in the situation where I needed to get out and earn some money, then I would start a business. Because I think you can start a business at any age. And I think that's what I would do. And I think for me, it's because I'm a bit like you, Andy. I think the fact that we're in our 60s means that we've actually seen quite a lot of ups and downs, economic ups and downs. I mean, I first started work in 1980. That's when I got my first job. Things weren't brilliant economically around that time. I remember starting my business in the early 90s when there was a massive, not depression, but there was a big recession on, and it was very, very hard to get the business going. I mean, nobody was buying, so to speak. It was awful. But my attitude towards it was you always I agree with Mike on this one. I agree. I think you do depend on yourself. You get stuck in. You do what's necessary. I'm not saying you shouldn't take on jobs, because if that's what you're used to, then go and take on multiple jobs if you have to. But I would start businesses.
Yeah.
I think there's plenty of business opportunity, low cost business opportunities where you don't have to start a business. You don't have to put much money in. You don't have to put anything in.
No, I think the point really back to the question or the comment that we got there is that it depends on the individual. I mean, some people would panic about it. We're both lucky that actually that's not something that stresses us or worries us. I worry more about relationships and things like that than I do about the financial side of it.
Same, yeah. I'm worried more about my health.
Yeah.
The reason I chose this topic for today's discussion is that's the thing I'm worried about. I'm worried about my, what the hell am I remaining? I mean, in fact, I'm not really worried about that because I don't really worry. But if I did worry about something, it would be that. What are my remaining years? Worry is the wrong word, actually. I'm concerned that I may not have the healthy years ahead of me that I would like to have.
Yeah, so
it's more of a concern than a worry.
You want to maximize the enjoyment out of the remaining years that you have, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
To put it simply, I'm not really as concerned financially. If I needed to raise money, I've got a house to sell, I'd downsize, release equity that way. I would start businesses. I'm not averse to working. So Tronaldino has popped up another comment for us. Yeah. What's your take on going part-time? Is it best of both worlds, or rather sounds good but doesn't work? Andy, you're over to you on this one. I think, have you ever worked part-time, Andy?
No. Well, sort of yes and no. Yeah, I work part-time now. It's whether you get paid for it or not. So I do things that I enjoy doing. I mean, we spoke to Mike mentioned Mike Bland mentioned a few times, I think it was the last session that we had, that he has a part-time job with a
In a funeral home,
funeral home,
yeah,
where he has a retainer contract and he turns up when they need help or when he wants to go in, which works for him. And I think so I would say it's down to the individuals. It sounds a bit like a cop out, but it's down to the individual. So I enjoy doing stuff. I enjoy doing stuff I want to do. So I did a number of jobs which were full-time jobs after I retired, but there were things that I thought had meaning and cause, and there was something that I was passionate about. So I think it's about that passion. It's about that inner feeling that you want to actually feel fulfilled and want to do things. So I think if you go part-time, it's, some people go down to 3 days a week. So the way into retirement is to do it gradually. They start at 5, they go to 4, 3, and then they stop, because it takes you into it slowly. It allows you to, if you look at the change, the sort of the academic work on change, what happens is that to move from one thing to another, you don't want to let go of what you've got until you've got something solid to hang on to on the other side, which is the change thing. What this is doing is letting go of the first one and then hoping to hell that you've got something to hang on to. So going part-time actually is quite a good way to transition in there if you're a bit scared about it or a bit worried about it.
You put it so eloquently, Andy.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of part-time. So to answer Ronaldino's question here, yeah, I think it's a good idea. My experience of it is that I've pretty much worked part-time ever since I was, I guess, 48, 49. Slightly different in the sense it wasn't part-time like, I was in my job and I cut it down to 2 or 3 days. I decided to continue in my niche, but in a consulting advisory capacity, working 1, 2, sometimes 3 days a week, sometimes taking 6 weeks off, 8 weeks off, sometimes taking months off.
Yeah.
And I've never been full-time since. And I've always enjoyed that. If you're talking about non-business, non-entrepreneurs, for want of a better word, my father was a policeman for 30 years, retired when he was 56. And he went part-time straight away, 2 days a week, working as an advisor, police advisor for a firm of local solicitors, and he loved it. And it worked really well for him. So I'm a big fan of part-time because I think I do think you get the best of both worlds. I think you get all the benefits of work, but you also get the free time.
Yeah, I agree, but it's one of the things that we talk about when we talk about the process that you need to go through to understand how you're fulfilled and work out where you get there if you're a bit lost. And this is really about trying stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you think it's a good idea, try it. Don't not try it because you're worried about it failing. Now's the time when actually it doesn't matter whether it succeeds or fails. What you're looking for is, does it fulfill you? If it doesn't, stop it. You don't have to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. So, Andy, we've got another comment from Kevin.
Yeah.
McG. Kevin says that his wife passed away 8 months ago, and the biggest challenge is purpose. Still trying to find it whilst doing the mechanics at work. Well, sorry for your loss, Kevin.
Yeah, sorry for your loss.
That must be hard. But yeah, purpose is a biggie, isn't it? We've talked about purpose in a previous live, so I'm not sure we should go over it again today, because if you look back on my channel, one of our sessions that Andy and I talked about was purpose. It was the second of the 5 pillars, Andy.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, the first one was perception, wasn't it?
Perception.
Getting to know yourself, and then the second one was purpose, trying to identify purpose, finding purpose in life, and finding purpose in retirement.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a very important subject, and I would say to Kevin, go back and watch that live session. It's about 60 minutes. I forget when it was. Was it about 4 weeks ago? But it's up on YouTube. Yeah.
The other thing I would say to Kevin is talk to people. Talk to people about it, because it's really, really hard to do by yourself. So I think Nick and I found that we made most progress when we talked to each other about some of the things that, didn't quite connect, and we made each other think. We made each other think about what we really wanted to do. We were very honest with each other about it. I don't think, oh, why are you doing that? You agree, Nick? I think that.
Oh yeah, I mean that absolutely. I think trying to figure out purpose on your own is impossible, or very slow.
Yeah.
It's very slow progress trying to figure it out on your own. You've definitely got to talk to people, and I would also go so far as to say you got to talk to independent people.
Yes.
Because the ones closest to you are the least likely to talk to. So, your friends are not the people to talk to about purpose.
Yeah.
I would say you need to talk to people independently. If I could go, I'm not just saying this because we have a program which covers this. I mean, it sounds like I am saying it because of that, but I'm not. I would genuinely, if I could go back to when I was around about 50, I would have signed up for some sort of coaching program or some kind of community, some sort of group of people that were experiencing similar challenges, so that I could pick their brains. I didn't, and I don't know why I didn't. Maybe I didn't consider myself retired. I didn't look into it enough, because I used to sign up for those kind of things in business. I had coaches galore and communities and all sorts of things when I was in business. But for some bizarre reason, I never did it for my retirement. And I would say that was a big mistake.
I think the big learning from that, Nick, is invest in yourself in your retirement in the same way as you would when you were at work.
And this is an opportunity for you, Andy, to plug the coaching program or the coaching group. Because what's the latest on? Because Tronaldino wants to know what is the latest on the coaching program. You mentioned it in a previous live session. So Andy, what is the latest on the coaching program?
Well, you know the numbers better than me, Nick, but we have a number of people who have shown an interest in joining our coaching program.
Yes.
Our coaching program lasts for a month. It's once a week, and we take you through a process which we've got. You go back to some of our earliest videos on YouTube Live. We go through what that process is, and basically, it's helping you start to guide you on the journey and the steps you have to take. We will be starting we'll be starting one in the new year as soon as we get enough numbers. So I think the numbers we're looking at is 6, wasn't it, Nick?
Yeah, we wanted to get 6 people, and as an ideal number, any or more than 6, anything above 6, probably 10 at most. I think we wanted to limit it to 10. And at the moment, what we're doing is we're creating a reserve list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we want to do is we will do that. So Nick's got an operation coming up in January.
Well, February
now. I'm away March and April, so I'm going away to New Zealand for 6 weeks with my wife, enjoying my retirement and filling things on my bucket list. But the plan is that we will run a program probably straight after that if we have the right numbers. And what we are looking to do is to develop a community over time with lots of people who are retired or thinking of retiring, where we meet once a month. We talk about what's on our minds, what's troubling us, and help each other. It's creating that community to help each other. Plus, if people want individual coaching, yes, we will offer that, but I think we need to go through the program first.
Yeah, absolutely. So in simple terms, the program is probably going to go live sometime around April next year. When is it you're going to New Zealand? Did you say, Andy?
March until the middle of April, so it'll probably be May.
Yeah. So realistically, we're probably not going to be launching the program until about then.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it's about expressing your interest, getting your name on the reserve list, having a chat with me, because I'm kind of vetting people for it. So 30-minute chat with myself, and then getting added to the reserve list, and then when the program's ready to go, we'll be making the announcement. It'll be launched properly.
Yeah.
It goes without saying, if anybody needs any help before then please just reach out to myself or Andy anyway. I do offer a free 30-minute call, where I like to think I can kind of help get you on a certain path. So feel free to to book yourself into my calendar if you think a 30-minute chat would help.
And I do offer one-to-one coaching, if mentoring, and yes, I call it more guidance, but I'm a qualified coach, and that's what I do. So quite happy if somebody wants to do that, we can look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the latest with the program. So Andy, anything else to add at this stage?
No, I'm trying to think about some.
Oh, hang on. Oh, here we go. Sorry for interrupting you there. This is John Fade to Grey, who I mentioned earlier. John, how are you getting on with your minimum wage job at Marks and Spencer's? So I hope you'll answer that. So this is John Fade to Grey. He's got a channel. You should all go and check it out, because it's all about purpose, work, and all those kind of things. Oh, here we are. Yeah, he's knackered. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I watched your most recent video, John. Yeah, I saw that. You're on your feet all day. I gather you were at the door welcoming people into Marks and Spencer's.
Yeah.
You're a brave man. You're a brave man. But thanks very much for popping by, John. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah, nice to virtually meet you. No, but
hang on. Yeah, John wants to know about you, because you had some news. Any news from Great Rail?
Not yet. No, so I hear that in January time. So yeah, something I'd like to try. If I don't, fine. If I do, fine. It's we'll see. Watch this space.
Watch this space. See how it pans out.
Yeah.
So yeah, Andy, anything else on this topic before we sign off?
I don't think so. No, I think it's thank you. I think it's more, it's something to think about. It's something to, it's something you really should consider. It's part of the planning process. You're better at planning than I am, mate.
So Andy, you're not as unequivocal on this topic as me, are you?
No, I'm not.
My position on this is quite clear. If you can retire by 60, if you are financially able to retire, if you've got all those ducks lined up, then why are you still working? That's my position on this. Why are you still in full-time work? Okay, yeah. Because there's a big world out there. There's so much to do, so many things to do, so many things to learn, so many things to see, that my honest opinion is that work is a handicap to that.
Yeah.
But Andy, you don't see it quite the same way, do you?
No, I don't. And that's because some people's purpose may be fulfilled through work. Yeah. Even their ultimate purpose after they've retired or after they're 60 or whatever it is. There are some people who have a drive and a purpose to do something, and they should follow it. So this is all about doing what it is you want to do, but you have to understand what it is you want to do. And if you're already on that path and that's working, then keep doing it.
Thanks for that, Andy.
But I would agree with you, Nick. If you're not on that path and you know, and it's not your passion, it's something you enjoy doing, and you can retire, then do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. Great. Well, I think we'll wrap up on that, Andy.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for joining again and chatting on this topic.
Thank you.
It's always great to hear your perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, we're just before we go, Cyril Mulcahy, enjoying the weekly chat as always. And I wonder how people cope who start a second family in their later years. One partner a good bit younger. Oh wow, maybe it keeps the older. We were just about to sign off, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I wonder. On that topic, very briefly, my former business partner, who I set up in business with when I was 13, he was 28. He recently remarried. He's now 61, and he's got a couple of toddlers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So maybe he's the one to ask, but I haven't got any experience of that. So I don't think you have you, Andy?
No, I haven't.
Do you know anybody? But do you know anybody?
I mean, one guy that I spoke to who runs a business locally, he was 62, and he ended up he got himself a new partner. So I think she was in her late 20s,
right?
And they had their first kid when he was, the two of them when he was in his 60s. So I think his passion was his job. Well, I don't know. It seemed like his passion was his job, but actually, just it might have been, oh God, I've got.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine my former business partner going through all that again, you know, because he's been telling people about it, but he's going to be putting the kids through the same school that his grown-up kids went through and all this. And I just thought, gosh, can't imagine going through all that again. No. You know, when he talks about energy, you know, I mean, he's going to have to work until he's 90, but you know, to pay for it. But there we go. Cyril, why do you ask that question? Just out of curiosity, are you talking about yourself, or do you know somebody? Are we just curious? It'd be interesting to see what Cyril says to that one. Yeah. So we'll give Cyril a few seconds to parachute his reply in, and then we'll sign off. Yeah. Hang on a second. So we'll give him a chance to type it in.
Yeah.
So Andy, before we go, are we going to be doing another one of these anytime soon, or are you jetting off around the world again?
No, I'm not. No, I'm just going to check my diary, Nick. But I actually think I've got this planned in for.
I think it's hilarious that you sort of be telling everybody about this alternate lifestyle of staying at work, and that doesn't describe you at all.
No, it doesn't. No, but it's.
You're so conscientious. You're so conscientious about these other people that, well, not you. You spend more time traveling the world than anybody I know.
Yeah, but
that's how it should. And that's how it should be after 60.
Yeah, but that's what I want to do. All I'm saying is that if somebody doesn't want to do that, and they really don't want to do that, and what they're doing is pushing all the right buttons, fine.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So we might be back next. Yeah. So we might be back next week then, Andy.
I think we will be back next week. That was the plan. Yeah, I'm
excellent.
around.
And next week. Diary. And next week, Andy gets to choose the topic.
Oh gosh.
Andy, the only question, the only caveat that I can put to this, right, is nothing too intellectual, please.
I'll definitely do something really hard and intellectual. I'll have you solving simultaneous linear equations in your sleep by the time I finish.
Because I know you like an intellectual debate with your educated friends.
Yes.
But what's that? It just goes right over my head.
No, I enjoy an intellectual debate with you, Nick.
Excellent. That's it. And on that note, we'll sign off. So thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you.